But I do want to get to a move that happened last night, guys, because the Celtics, they sent Grant Williams to Dallas. That's via a sign and trade, so he could give a boost to the Mavs defense. It fell off last season. Here are the numbers of what I'm talking about. After ranking 7th in defensive efficiency, that was in the 21-22 season, they went on to reach the West Finals, of course. Then they plummeted to 25th defensively last year when they didn't even reach the playoffs. So, Brian, what do you think? Have the Mavs done enough this offseason?
Well, I've got feelings on all three sides of this trade.
Give me all
I think
feelings.
the Mavs have done a good job. I think the Mavs have done a good job of building up their roster. It was kind of hollowed out after the Kyrie Irving trade. I think a lot of Grant Williams. I think he's a typical player, a prototypical player you'd want to have on a playoff team. Is a leader in the locker room, can play defense on several different positions, can score from the inside and outside. He is not as good of a defender as Dorian Finney-Smith, but he is a reasonable replacement, and that's the guy that was at the centerpiece of what they sent for Brooklyn for Kyrie Irving. In Boston, I get that they didn't really have in the budget to pay Grant Williams on a 4-year deal. They are going to probably be paying Jaylen Brown huge dollars very soon. They just extended Kristaps Porzingis. They have Jason Tatum on the max, and they're going to have to pay him more. I get that. But they basically just offloaded salary here. And I know they're in the tax. I'm not even feeling bad about it. But the player that they could have gotten if they had just done a straight trade with Dallas was Reggie Bullock. I would much rather have Reggie Bullock on my roster than have nothing, the 2 second-round picks. But he would have cost $10 million, and the Celtics are already well into luxury tax. They just didn't do it. I'm not criticizing them. it's a missed opportunity. And congratulations to the San Antonio Spurs. I just want to bring this up. They got a free player. They got a free, wing defensive 3-and-D player that they can keep or flip later, and they got a pick swap out of this. They come out, in my mind, with a grade A in this transaction.
I like what the Mavs are doing. I see, all right, shooting and defense. And obviously we saw them go after Curry. We saw them now land Grant Williams. To me, the Matisse Thybulle was trying to, again, get into where they were lacking. But Perk, I got to ask you about Boston's side of all this. I know you weren't happy after Marcus Smart. How you feeling now?
I'm damn sure not feeling good after this one. Listen, here's the thing. You need dogs in order to win a championship. And the Celtics this past offseason just got rid of 2 pit bulls that they had in the locker room, and Marcus Smart and Grant Williams. Like, you can't replace that. I don't care about guys that play hard. That's one thing. But when you play hard and play with tenacity, the noise talking, the getting into your face, not being afraid to ruffle the feathers, you cannot replace that. And there's no team in the history of sports that hasn't had those dogs on their roster in order for us them competing and winning for a championship. I don't know if the Celtics have something coming down the pipeline or Brad Stevens and Austin Ainge is working in that front office right now about to get something done. But right now, I am not, again, for the second or third week in a row, I am not happy with what the moves and how it was happening down there in the Beantown. I'm not pleased.
Summer League off to a hot start. We haven't even made it to Vegas yet. And Mark, yesterday, we asked you which player you should watch. You nailed it. Let's show everyone who missed it what happened, because Keegan Murray, he was on fire. He started out just where he left off in the regular season. Remember, he shot 41% from 3 for the Sacramento Kings last year. Pulls up, gets that one to go. And then once again, a little dribble, handoff, 3-pointer. That's good too. Still in the third quarter here. Once again, run it back. Another dribble handoff, gets it to go. And then in the fourth quarter, Murray, catch, shoot, cash. He had 41 points, the most in a summer league game since 2009. I love when they do that in Golden One. Keegan Murray. And then we get to Chet Holmgren. We're going to pick this one up in the second quarter. Chet, rather the first. A block on Big Body Roddy there. Ooh, elevates. And then Chet again. A little turnaround jumper. He kept cooking. Third quarter here. Chet going to work. Slams it down. He had 10 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks in this game. And 1 more for good measure at the rim. I think we might need to see that one more time. Woo-wee. This is what Summer League's all about, getting excited for next season already. And then we have the Hornets and the Warriors. Brandon Miller, he struggled a little bit in this one. Miller right here on defense, commits the foul. He had more fouls than points in this one, but sometimes it takes a little bit. And then Miller again on defense here. Watch him. Nice move. Allows the layup. Miller had 6 points, 7 assists, 8 fouls in this game. So it's been a little bit of an adjustment here for Miller. He struggled a bit with the fouls, the turnovers so far in Summer League. He did have 7 assists, though, yesterday, which is more than he had in any college game last season. So there are some flashes. Back here with our panel, though, Mark, you've spoken to folks working with Charlotte, with their Summer League team. What are they saying about Miller here?
Well, they're optimistic. I've been texting with Marlon Garnett, their Summer League head coach. He loves his basketball IQ and his ability to score. But, hey, man, the young fella got to be more aggressive. This is Summer League. Matt Barnes said it best. I'd rather him shoot 30 times and make 2 than shoot 2. So, Brandon Miller needs to be more aggressive. Marlon Garnett said that after the first game. And I expect with Steve Clifford being on the road with the team, him pushing him in Las Vegas to be more aggressive offensively. That's why they got him. And that's what Summer League is for, is to work out all the kinks. And he has to get out of that corner, move around, get the point guards to throw him the ball. But I expect him to be a different player in Vegas.
Oh, and not to mention, whenever you have someone like Victor Wembanyama on the other side, you imagine that sometimes that raises the level for these competitors, and you know that Brandon Miller is a competitor. What's your level of concern, if any, here, Perk?
It's none. I mean, we're talking about his second Summer League game, and we're talking about a 20-year-old. And what people have to realize is that every guy that goes in the top 5 is not a right-now guy. He may be a project. He may look good 2 or 3 years from now. That may be his start. I don't know. But I know this. Once he get around a guard, a point guard like LaMelo Ball, who's going to make the game easier for him, he's going to have better looks, better shots. It's not going to be that difficult. And a lot of people don't realize is that it's hard to play on a Summer League team because you have a lot of guys, especially if the roster is not built to your liking, you have a lot of guys that are from overseas, a lot of guys that played in the G League last year, guys that are trying to get a contract or make a training camp roster or make a good impression. It's hard to mold and fit in or do your thing because so many guys are playing with agendas and they're not even hidden. So I'm not blaming that for his lack of production. I'm just saying give the man time. We're only 2 games into his Summer League, into his NBA season. He gonna be just fine.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to Vegas yet. This is where things get fun. And speaking of Vegas and speaking of Brandon Miller, Victor Wembanyama, his Summer League debut, it's set for tomorrow night against the Charlotte Hornets, against Brandon Miller. It's already sold out, Brian. What do you think?
Yeah, so here's what I'd say about Victor. He has a bit of an advantage here because he played all the way into mid-June with his team. Well, these other guys haven't played, for the most part, competitive basketball since the spring. But at the same time, he's facing a radical change going from FIBA-style basketball to American-style basketball. I would just say the thing about Victor, if you watched him during the season in France, which I did a lot of.
Yes, you did.
He has periods where he will go 5 or 6 minutes and not do much and sometimes look like he's off balance. And you'll say, what are we talking about? What is all the fuss over? And then he will go 5 or 6 minutes where he'll drop your jaw 6 times in like 7 possessions. So give him some space. I will say this. People are going to say, Malika, when they see him, when they see how light he is out there and he gets knocked around, people are going to say, the league is too physical for him. He can't handle the bodies of Summer League. I'm just going to tell you, the French league has big, grown 28 to 32-year-old men. He got bumped around. It's very physical. Trust me, he can handle it. He was the MVP of that league. So just keep that in mind as you watch him play tomorrow night.
Yes, Perk.
Yeah, but that's life. That's life overall, right? You could be doing something great, and all the haters are going to find the negative instead of finding the positive. That's life in general.
I needed that sermon today, Kendrick Perkins. Thank you so much, my friend. As we turn our attention to some of the extension-eligible players that could be seeing some huge paydays, Jaylen Brown is one of them. And then later on in the summer, don't forget about Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I think a question for a lot of folks right now, Bobby, is what the heck? What's going on with Jaylen Brown and the Celtics? Why is there not an extension already done here?
Well, listen, the number is up to $303 million. That's what it potentially could look at. And when you look at players that have extensions, supermaxes before, everyone has gotten the full 35%, except for Rudy Gobert. And it is negotiable. You do not have to give the full 35%. So when you're looking at it, is there a sticking point with that? Is there a player option involved here? And I think before, Boston is committing $300 million for the next 5 years, there certainly would have to be a little bit of a compromise where you do not want a player becoming a free agent 4 or 5 years from now.
Bobby, I'm curious, you first and then Brian, are there any other extension eligible players, we just showed a few, that you're keeping an eye on other than Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, I have my eye in Toronto. You just lost Fred VanVleet to Houston. Pascal Siakam is extension eligible for $192 million. He's also Supermax eligible next year if he earns All-NBA this year. And then you look at OG Anunoby, who's 4 for $116. Both players potentially could be unrestricted free agents next offseason. Two of the top free agents. I just think Toronto cannot afford both players to hit the open market next year.
What about you, Brian?
DeJounte Murray in Atlanta, they paid 3 first-round picks for him last summer. If you're not going to extend him, you cannot risk losing him for nothing. So that's a big thing that Atlanta has to deal with. I think that they can work out a deal there, but it's just a matter of getting it done.
We're going to have to keep our eyes peeled for that over the coming days, the coming weeks, as we continue to march on in this free agency.